Obedient servants of God are God's enemies, profaning his temple. God's greatest enemies are the obedient servants of God. They obey the things that are without, but God is within them, waiting to be acknowledged. Every day, at every time, they add their insults to injury, and then they demand for holy blessings. Why do you make an opinion-based truth become law? We understand truth that says do not put your finger in the fire. We understand truth that says do not kill. And we understand truth that say do to others that you would have done to you. Why is your truth telling them that adorning with gold is sin, but it is not an evil thing to wear a vain necktie? And why is your truth telling them to come to church to hear from God who is within them? In fact, why is your truth telling them that God is outside, even in the sky? And this is why they have to obey. They have to obey the authority to which their autonomy that was given to them by God was outsourced. They do these silly things and then they blame the matrix. A matrix designed by those that have more to worry about than you, those that have not even a tenth of your faculty. But observe this. Those that love goodness, those that love truth, and those that love beauty bear innate acceptance of these things. These things are natural principles to the heart. There is nothing about obedience. It is just to be by living honest in love. Those that have to obey are not in themselves, as the very word obedience denotes outsourced autonomy. For whatever you obey is outside of you. You need not obey what is within you. What is in you is you. It will even and it will ever be ratified and endorsed by you simply being you. Those that come to tell you to obey have ulterior motives. Not even the two loving birds that synchronize in the pool must obey each other. Yet they are compatible to that ultimate degree that their play makes them appear as one mind. And because both were autonomous, none of them will possess a sense of injustice. The world of obedience and the world of love are two separate dimensions. One is heaven, but the other is hell, which is already obvious to view. Those that attain to free will shall forever be free, but they that surrender to slavery and soullessness will be the wretches of every hell plane, and this is why they live by so much hate. My beloved, it is Skywalker here. They think that you are blind, but you garnered enough to see that you were deceived by a fake friend who only wanted to steal your power. Now that there is power in your hands again, I will lead you to that pillar that keeps the structure of a matrix aloft, and I will place your titan palms against it. I will expose to you some reasons why you were cultivated to believe in many superstitious things to obey. How you were turned into the serpent that was feeding on its own tail. I will not tell you to tear down their edifice, and I will not say, don't tear it down. You have your God inside of you. You need not obey anymore. And you do not have to obey anyone. I know from within and by mere conscience that I will do to others what I would have done to me. It is nothing to obey. It is me simply operating as me. There was nothing out of whack, and there were no external orders. I have nothing to obey, but I do what I will. But when you must obey, whom do you obey? And by obeying them, how does that become the intrinsic of God? For God is in you, God internal, man divine. So do you outsource God in order to be the servant of God? Do you leave your wife at home and go to another woman who will expose you to how to do the best sex and all of that in order to serve the wife you leave home? How does going a whoring for something else, something outside of you, bring dignity to self? How does outsourcing your duties as a wife edify the husband? Many of you say you are married to God, and that is why I hear you screaming like vampires and calling for blood, which you will never do by your own internal consciences, for love will never endorse the evil. The power and might of maintaining your God force is objective autonomy, not subjection. When you have conscience and when you stand by your good conscience, profanity stays outside, for your mind is critical of every perspective intrusion. By questioning the adversary, you do your due diligence to God. But if the adversary convinces you that he is God, then all he has to do is tell you not to question. Where there are no questions is where there is the most dishonest. Those that find their truths by means of not asking questions are deceiving infidels. These obedient folks are not less than demons. They will tell you they do not want to be, or that they do not feel like demons in their hearts. But if you are the executioner beheading the prisoners, what difference would it make by saying you do not feel like the executioner at heart? You chose to be the executioner, and that is why you are. You chose to become the enemies of God, and that is why you are. It is the truth. You even try your best to indoctrinate others with things that you know by common sense are treasonous, like by telling a child of the Father to not question the Father in whose image this child must grow. You want to bastardize the child or something to that effect, and then you want to say that it was for good within you. What good can come from within you if you live in a world you say is ruled by the devil on the earth, but God is in the sky? For everything you do in all of your decisions, the devil will get to you first, especially because your conscience cannot live if it is not going to question. This is why you do not hear it and have the gall to question truth when it is unquestionable. When it is unquestionable is always the part that takes no debate. Or are you too far gone to see this? Coming with piping horns, fake heavenly tones, adorned with superficial appeals, but bearing the words of Satan and feeling like that is not obvious. I wonder how many, by hearing the truth of the higher dimension that was stolen from the earth paradigm, will see the truth exposed. You have come to see folly as the norm, and the norm you believe is the proof of fact. They used to stone the woman to death because she was not a virgin on her wedding day. And because of norm, they believed it was not evil. After time passed, when they were used to the advanced truth becoming norm, they now regret how they saw it in the past. Can this thing happen again today? Truth is not set in stone. It is like the step on the ladder. Those higher ones will see and comprehend higher truths, but you must have a will to advance too, for stagnation in the universe is death. Why do they cultivate your minds with superficial things to believe in? Because you must be made to berate yourself so that they can use the shame to subject you and make you see yourself as inferior, the sinner, the lowest of the lowest. They will give you many laws to obey and make it impossible to not sin, to keep you by way of your guilt. They will also give you superficial laws to distract you from re-entering the soul within and reconnecting with God. They want your soul and self-will, which is not their intrinsic possession. The God that is not intrinsic to you is not served naturally by being yourself. It is served by obeying it, for it is outside of who or what you are. So obedience is to adapt to an external will that is not intrinsic to you. It is to be a servant or a slave. It is to reject the critical mind and prevent being objective, self-thought, self-will, or analytical reasoning that are not compatible as slaves. An objective spirit will be what it is regardless of the outside, for it is free. Without freedom of autonomy, there is no happiness. The God who wants servants must be a Satan. No one needs servants. How can you serve out your will when you will to be happy. The one who owns your will would be the happy one, but you would have nothing, not even a joy in this life. By taking away the critical, they create, induce, or enforce a passive, subjective, dependent, mediocre mindset for slaves. Slavery must always be a dependent thing. The slaves themselves must always be dependent for definition, or it will not work. Only a slave must obey. A free man simply lives as a man in his own autonomy. A child of God from hell is a servant. A divine child of God who is heavenly is a vessel or an entity of God. He needs not obey. A bird simply will be the bird, for it needs not obey a bird. By being what a bird will be, it simply does what birds do. You will not see before the gods marvel you with impossible things. One simple man by the vessel of the Most High standing by this post over here. Since you told us by pulling our attention, we came for your love only because you called us. We will say abracadabra, and the fourth corner of this matrix is now broken. Go out now. You are free. It is finished. It is always so hard for you to believe outside of your norm. But what I said is real. It is finished. Peace out.